welcome to another episode of the Off Topic Podcast. Off Topic, where real life brings laughter, lessons, and uplifts. I got with me today, there's a couple special guests, but we'll get into the introductions of our normal co-hosts. We have Stovall with us.
Hey.
Hayward.
What's up, everybody?
Ronnie.
Hey.
And our special guest today, Adam the Stallion.
Hello.
Woo!
Okay.
And Brian, aka DJ Evox.
Let's
In
go.
the building.
Welcome, you guys. Welcome. We are short one of our normal
Castmate.
co-hosts. She's out gallivanting in Jamaica. So real quick, we want to say hello to her in her absence. And today's her birthday. So we want to say happy birthday to her.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Mama Kim.
Yeah. Happy birthday. Hopefully she's enjoying her time in Jamaica. I think she comes back tomorrow. All right. So how's everybody's week been?
Pretty good.
Well, it's Monday.
Mhm.
Right.
Well, we mean last week.
The bar is low.
We going from last week to this week. So,
Always
good.
a troublemaker.
see, and he calls himself being nervous.
Right.
All right.
It's the nerves.
Anyway, how was your weekend? Let me say that. I'll say your week. How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. I started my new serving job, so it's my part-time right now, but everything went well. We opened last weekend, so this is my first weekend working, and I think it's going to pay out pretty well, so I'm glad to be there.
Good.
Perfect.
Good. I'm sure those legs. Oh wait, no, you have on pants, so you won't.
I got to wear full long sleeves everywhere.
Oh,
They hate me.
well. There goes your extra.
And with this humidity, it's been like 90 degrees plus, so I'm just at the table drenched in sweat. I'm like, what can I get you? Don't look up.
Brian, how was your weekend?
I don't know what weekends really are anymore. I work all the time, but so yeah, I worked this weekend. It was good though.
Okay.
Busy.
Yeah. Stovall, you do anything special?
Just hanging out with my little buddy.
Oh,
He had me emotional yet again. I bought him 2 swords. He said, "This is the best thing ever, my G." Makes me so happy.
And you start crying?
I did. I cry all the time now.
Who are you?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out now. We at Walmart. I'm like, grandson, anything for you, I'll always protect you.
Poor thing.
So, yes.
Hayward, how was your weekend?
It was very relaxing. I didn't do anything at all, honestly. Just kind of relaxed around the house, did some things, and that was it.
Okay, good. Relaxing weekend's always good.
Yeah.
What about you, Ronnie?
I didn't do too much this weekend. I just chilled out too. That's it. Really.
Okay.
That's it. It don't happen much, but it happened this week.
Well, good. Glad you got some rest as well. So,
What did you do this weekend?
what did I do? I worked and not too much of anything really. I caught myself going to church yesterday.
Oh yeah, tell us about it. What happened?
Yeah, I went to church. I haven't been in a while, so I got up and went and met Tammy there. And so when we got there, I noticed there was no traffic getting off the exit. So I said, "Oh my God!" So I hit her up. I said, "I think we're about to be gooped." And so she was like, "Well, I don't have no problem leaving." Needless to say, we saw who was preaching, and we, as soon as they did the offering, finished with the offering, we tiptoed on out. Like that. I wasn't going to be blessed with that sermon, so I had to leave.
Do you know that for a fact? Or-
I do know. Yeah. And so, but don't cry for me, Argentina. I went home, and so I did. I did a little workout. I was on a treadmill, so I watched. Pete went to a different church, so I watched the church he was at, and it was actually very, very enlightening. So, yeah.
I too have walked out, depending on who was preaching. I too have done that.
I don't know what Hayward talking about because he wouldn't have wanted to sit there for that either.
I mean, I'm not saying that I would have, but considering you haven't been in a while, I thought you may have, kind of wanted to stay and see.
Oh, well, that's a little slight judge period here. Yeah, I haven't been for all those who are wondering. I haven't been since probably in the January.
Hey, God's love isn't based on attendance.
It's
Oh.
not.
So you're fine.
Come on, Adam. Come on through.
Do you have a biblical scripture to support that?
I need to grab my Bible real quick.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we're gonna get into this first clip.
Good afternoon to you, Shivani.
Good afternoon, Julia.
Thanks.
You know my pronouns are they, them. How are you doing?
Yeah. Thank you for telling me your pronouns. I use correct grammar, so the only thing I would need to refer you to is to your face would be you. But I'm not being rude. You can choose your pronouns. You can choose what you want to call yourself, but you don't get to require me to use incorrect grammar and factually incorrect things. You're not a plural. You're a one person, and you're a female person. So I will use she and her. Thank you very much.
Do what you like, I guess.
Well, there you are. You didn't need to tell me then, did you?
Maybe I'm just making sure people know in case they're watching and they want to refer to me respectfully.
Is it disrespectful for me to use correct factual grammar?
It's not incorrect or unfactual grammar to use singular they them pronouns for an individual. But we're here to talk about the cast review.
Yeah, but you chose to bring it up.
You chose to use the incorrect pronouns for me.
I chose to use the correct pronouns for a single woman who is appearing on my show.
I'm not a single woman, though. I'm a very special non-binary trans person, as you just pointed out. I
didn't
really
just
want to
point
stand
that
out
out.
in the crowd.
I didn't just point that out. I introduced you as a journalist and a Virgin Radio presenter.
No, just before I came on, you were talking about how people with all these labels like to be special. And I'm just making sure that everyone knows I'm special.
Okay, I'm not special. I'm just a boring old heterosexual married woman. But, sorry about that. We're not allowed to do that anymore. In fact, that probably does make me special now. I don't know. Anyway, Shivani, we're colleagues, and I obviously want to treat respect. But again, for me, respect works both ways, and that also requires people on both sides to be respectful of people's willingness to not want to tell lies or to be dishonest to themselves. So we'll have to respect each other's views on this.
Oh God. Okay. Oh. Interesting. Very interesting. Thoughts?
Okay.
I feel like was there something missing from the beginning of that? Like the fact that she
I didn't hear how
introduced
she
her
was,
pronouns.
Yeah, I didn't hear how she
like-
announced her at the very, very beginning.
She said,
Yeah,
I think she referred to her as like a her or something like that when she first introduced her, and so when immediately the other lady or other person got on and said, my pronouns are they and them.
And I'm
Was it
assuming
on
she was
the
on there
video
to
or was it
be
before it
honored for
started
something.
taping?
It was real quick at the beginning.
Oh yes, I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
Producer, can you run it back just from the beginning part?
Good afternoon to you, Shivani.
Good afternoon, Julia.
Thanks.
You know my pronouns are they, them. How are you doing?
Yeah. Thank you for...
So
Yeah.
what I gathered from that, it sounds like towards the end of that clip, she said, but before we came on, like she had told her prior, and the lady still came on and introduced her as she.
She didn't introduce
But
her.
she
She
didn't say
introduced her as her name.
As her name.
Nonetheless, we get into the weeds of it. The purpose, the root cause of it was the fact that at some point she misgendered her or used the wrong pronouns.
Mhm.
So here's my thing with this. She was being snarky on purpose because this is just me. I feel like, we didn't hear that first conversation, but I almost feel like there was some back and forth, or maybe the one in the pink might have said something slick off camera that made her then say something. And they were already kind of bickering before. So I'm feeling that's why she came in and said my pronouns are they, them. Whereas if there wasn't any bickering per se, and she might have just said, this is Julia, then the girl might have been okay. Or the they, them would have been okay with, and just went on with her, what's the name? But the lady came to me, even if you don't believe in that, or that's not what you feel, this is what she asked. So you getting on there and purposely.
Yeah, I'll jump in real quick.
I know what I'm trying to. You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. I think what I gathered from it was the root of it was that she felt disrespected. Her pronouns. She's a non-binary, so her pronouns are they and them. So as the lady who kept the other news anchor was saying, well, you're a she and this and the third, not really taking the time to try to even understand that her pronouns are they and them. And even, I know it's a struggle for some and it's new for some as well, but if she's telling her, hey, this is what I like to be called, this is how I'd rather be referred to, then why not refer to her as they and them?
Yeah, I think she, the news anchor, I think she clearly felt she had an issue with it. She took issue with it. And I think whatever conversation they had prior to coming on air, like bled into that. Cause I think at some point in there, she just said, oh, cause I'm just a heterosexual married woman. Like, what do I know? That's boring. So it seemed like she maybe had those feelings and thoughts and that just kind of like spilled over into the situation. But I do feel like the other person was
non-binary person.
Yes, the non-binary person. Thank you for assisting me. Was also just kind of like getting back at that. That was kind of like a get back to her. Like that's what I took from it.
But even her saying, "No, I introduced you as a virgin anchor," and it's like, why did you even, or journalist? Why did you even have to say the virgin part? Just a journalist, a new journalist. Like, I don't know. It just seems like it was intentional. Almost, and that could have been done.
Yeah, there's definitely like animosity there.
Yeah.
My thing is with it is just like there's no reward for being biologically correct. So why is it so hard to just honor someone's pronouns?
Yeah.
Like that's where I go to it.
Mm-hmm. So is it easy is it easy in communication I've never encountered a non-binary individual where I'd had to use the pronouns they and them. Not to say I wouldn't be comfortable using those pronouns, but have you all had those experiences?
Yes, and I usually just avoid the pronoun thing because I can usually get through a conversation without ever having to address gender or like no sir, no miss, anything like that. Just kick it out completely so I don't screw it up. But with most non-binary people I have in my life, like they're not going to jump down my throat if I get it wrong, and they're usually pretty patient with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's what I was going to say. Just listening to, we have 4 gay males here, but even you guys, I said we have 4 gay males here.
You're going to help me like that? During Pride Month?
I'm glad that you guys reacted this way because this is going to go into my point. I even seen you guys go back and forth when you were trying to talk about or identify them. So my contribution to this conversation for that piece would just be like, for people that are identifying with the pronouns, being patient with everybody to try for us to relearn how to speak. Because I even heard Hayward, when you were trying to talk about the news anchor, you was like, I mean, and you're in the community. So it's just like with this particular clip, I think it was like a something going on that just made it awkward and made it tense. But I think in life, I wish that when everyone is having these conversations, just to be patient so that the world can relearn and reteach our mind, because it's just not heterosexuals that are struggling. Everybody is struggling to try to relearn this. And
it's not always on purpose.
And it's not always on purpose, but it is always met with a defense. And I feel like because it's people walking around with triggers, and I just think that that's unfair. So,
but in
a good way that go ahead.
Hold on, Brian.
I was gonna say, I've encountered a lot of people that are non-binary and use they them pronouns, and by and large, they all are generally understanding. As long as you're respectful with it. And I think that kind of goes back to the clip, is that there was an entire lack of respect in both directions. But in general, I think they have, but also their tolerance doesn't need to be endless. Eventually, you kind of have to give people a kick that says, hey, you're not respecting me. You need to pay attention.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree, because I do think people throw it away sometimes, specifically just within, probably more so in the workplace. I feel like because that's most often where you encounter it, like a lot where it has to be kind of, I don't want to say mandated, but it's usually like a company policy of just the respect just across the board. So I think a lot of people find difficulty in doing that. So that's wherein like the disrespect comes. Like if they're talking amongst other coworkers, it's like, I'm not going to, respect these pronouns. Like, I don't care about that. It doesn't matter. It's not a big thing. Like, why do I have to conform to this? And I've like heard people say these things, and it's just like, it's not that difficult to, like you all said, just to take your time and listen to people. They're generally understanding, and it shouldn't be that hard of a thing to do. That's just general human decency and understand, at the core. So,
and I think if you're at the point where if you're at the point where you want to like use they them pronouns, I can't imagine the internal battle that you've been having to get to that point, to like bring it to society and like wear that with pride. Like, that takes nerve. So it doesn't cost me anything to respect that.
So Adam, you say you kind of work around that by just calling them by their name?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Or my at-home practice is I've made my dog non-binary, so then I can practice the lingo. So when I'm with my non-binary friends or just interact with anyone non-binary, like I've got some practice under my belt. So practice makes perfect.
Not for Adam, but piggybacking off of that, just a rhetorical question. How do we deal with our elders that are not in the social media realm, that are not in, looking at a computer and can pick up stuff like that? What grace are we giving them, or what education are we giving them? Because half of the time people are not even communicating with them for them to learn. So what grace do we extend to them? Our grandparents, our older uncles, or our older family members, especially ones that are not seeing this different information being given daily. Just something to think about.
So are you just saying we just need to make sure that everybody's granted a certain level or a certain amount of grace in the process of getting used to this?
Yep, the first part, but there's just the second part is, how are we covering and educating that group?
And that group is stubborn, and they're stuck in their ways sometimes. Not necessarily stubborn, but kind of stubborn, but also older. And it's just, like, this is where some of us are like, okay, we're learning.
But instead of going to the negative part, go to the positive part. The ones that are not stuck in their ways and they want to learn, they just don't know how. Because somebody has an internal struggle that they're dealing with, and they never thought, like, let me just go talk to my uncle. Let me just go talk to my grandma. What about those people? Because on this topic, we tend to go to the negative, the ones that are giving off the negative vibe. But there are older people that are positive, that are okay with it. They just don't have any tools or resources to learn the now, the no, the end.
Well, with that, I would listen to what Brian and Adam said as far as going with just calling them by their name. Because even if you have your pronouns, they still go by their name. So that way it's not, I don't know. That's just what I would think.
But how will they know?
To call them by their name?
Are you saying like
you're saying an introduction of like a non-binary person?
Yeah.
Oh,
just period. Like if you just brought your non-binary friend over to grandmama and she's not in the know to know, and she's just like, baby, tell him to come on over here and sit down. Because that's what happens, right? Baby, tell him to come on in the door. Tell him to close he or she. And it's not a he or she. Looks like a he or she, but it's not a he or she. How would they know?
I think that's when you would politely, kind of interject and say they would like to be called, or they go by they and them. Yeah. And then, we'll have a later discussion about this, just as to not make them uncomfortable in this moment.
Yeah. But the reality we're going to freeze. The reality is we're going to freeze. It's going to come off kind of snarky, and then the environment change. So that's why I'm like, that group, I wish that we could somehow educate that group, because when something comes off as weird, it sometimes is on the defense of going down that road again. I just wish these conversations didn't have to be triggers, and they could just be open, flowing conversations. That was my point.
Gotcha.
I think that's the weight you carry, like, as an ally. And like, even for gay men, like, we're allies to that. Like, you have to take that responsibility, especially with a family member. And if you're going to bring a non-binary person into that space, like, I would say that's on you to make them as comfortable as possible.
Right.
I agree. Yeah. So just some for the listeners and people to think about, like, hey, as we're transitioning, making sure we're covering all age groups or all, everyone.
Cool. I agree. All right, so let's get into our next clip.
Donor, I've heard his voice. I have an MP3 file of him telling his own life story, why you felt you wanted to donate. And this was important, his willingness to be contacted when my child turns 18. So when my daughter's 18 years old, if she would like to find out her paternal identity, as I wanted to do when I was 38, she doesn't even have to wait that long and go through all that rigmarole that I had to do. Hire a geneticist, hire a detective. Here is his last known address, and he is anticipating your contact.
Yep.
Childhood photos, adult photos, keepsake essays from him, from the nursing staff, first impression, what he does for a living, his educational background, his SAT score. I mean, it's just a litany. So for me, it felt like a much safer choice.
Yeah.
It felt like a more legally astute choice. It gives me much less exposure, risk and exposure.
All right. Thoughts on this? Ladies?
I was going to say ladies. Ladies first.
It's just a slippery slope. That's just a slippery slope for me, that topic. Just because I've seen both sides. Like, I've seen where, like, you're with someone, the father is just absolutely not involved in what that kid goes through. You know what I mean? And then I've been seen or heard about situations where the father can't be involved. Maybe it was a child from a rape, and the mother decided to, keep the child. So often we focus on how the parents will feel, but like the child is just a slippery slope on how they receive it and accept it. And you never know how it's going to go. Gotcha. So I think it's one of those situations where as it unfolds, you just have to figure it out.
How would the fact of the father being basically a sperm donor, I don't want to say it like that. Yeah, it sounds so, yeah, but it sounds so I don't know, disrespectful, I guess. But how do you think that would shape the child? I guess when they get to a point when they want to know, as she was saying, they want to know, like, what do you think that would do to the child?
I think trying to bring my mind into current day, because this happens more current day than before. I think it's a thing of the now. So I don't really think that there's a book, there's no book on parenting. You just have to let it unfold and say, hey, mommy made this decision. This is your, the person that helped me bring you into this world, and glad that it's open and that child can reach out if they want to. But is the child still going to be mad? Because around them, even though it's a thing of the now where I can choose your dad or your mom, has television and cartoons and stuff like that caught up with the now, because on Miss Mika and Miss Rachel and Cocomelon, there's a mommy, there's a daddy shark, there's a mommy shark. So when those things are not brought up to speed and you have your son running around and it's like, where's daddy? You have to wait until it's age appropriate to, introduce or reveal what's actually going on.
Brian, I see you shaking your head. What do you say?
So I see that part of it. I guess I'm gonna throw the
Brian. Hold on, cuz he said Brian.
He said Ronnie. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
You were already into it. Go ahead.
I appreciate, because I don't hear too often where sperm donors want to actually be contacted. So I think it's pretty cool that he's anticipating or gave that information, like, hey, if they want to reach out to me, by all means, let them reach out to me. I think that's pretty decent, especially with I'm gonna go the genetics way. You have so many different health issues and genetic things that go on that you need to know about. That's important on anything you really feel out. If she wants to play sports or anything she wants to do, you have to know your background stuff. So that part of it I think is pretty neat. Now, I mean, is it possible for them to contact before 18? I mean, if they say they're okay with it, do you have to wait till 18? Or what if she wanted to reach out before then, since it was open? So that part of it, I think that's pretty decent to me. I think that was pretty cool because you don't hear that too often. So.
All right, Brian.
was just going to say, I think there's an inherent danger in this, and even revealing the possibility of being able to contact them at the right time is really important. Like, I don't tell a child that, yeah, your father, you can talk to him someday, but not right now. Like, I've known people who were adopted, for example, and had very mixed feelings on whether or not they wanted to ever have contact with their biological parents. And I think, having that dangled in front of you, that carrot, that you have to wait 18 years to reach out to this person that may or may not be important to you is kind of a tricky question. Like, and my thought is almost that you'd have to wait until they're 18 and kind of gauge where they are in their comfortability with the lack of a biological parent in their day-to-day life. And if everything's good, you can let them know, but otherwise keep that secret.
Yeah. Coming from the perspective of an adoptee, I never wanted to know who my parents were, my biological parents were, for the fear of, I kind of growing up, I watch those shows, people try to look for their parents, they find them, then they like shut the door, slam the door in their face and all that kind of stuff. So I never wanted to go through that experience. However, as I've gotten older in my age now, I'm like, I wish I would have, and not to say it's too late, but still it's, I'm like, are they still even alive or whatever like that? But more so not to know them, it's not to know who you are, or not that I need anything from you. Really, I want to know more about like genetics, and things of that nature, what runs in the family, because it makes me cringe every time I go to the doctor and ask me something. They'll say, well, does that run in your family? And I'm like, I was adopted, so I don't really know, this, that, and third. It's just uncomfortable. For me, probably them, they may be used to it, but for me, it's always uncomfortable when those type of questions come about, because I feel like I want to know that, what that actually does run in my family and things of that nature. But I really, so I just kind of just go off the cuff. But I see your point, Brian, is the fact of it, even at 18 though, there's always the fear of it is, and at this, this man saying, contact me. However, who's to say that by the time that child is 18, he will still share those same views? And so it can very well turn into a situation where, no, I don't want you to contact me now because I'm living a different life, or this, and the third. And so it puts the child in a more of an awkward position than we really think about at the beginning.
Yeah.
As the world changes and we're doing things that are not traditional, I wish we could have a clinic where it's two adults that say, I want to have a kid and I just haven't found the perfect partner, and they partner those people.
And have sex.
To have a kid. Have sex, have a kid, whatever. Because it's the same as a sperm donor, right? The only difference is the sperm donor, if they don't want to be contacted, like asking you guys, what is your most memorable, what age were you for your most memorable memories for your parents, is usually under 18. So when they're contacting them after 18, like, what's the benefit for one of the parents except the not having the financial responsibility? So if we're changing things to this,
ask that question again.
What is the benefit for one of the donors to be contacted after 18?
Gotcha.
Because the financial responsibility is up at that point. So I just wish, as if the world is changing to do a lot of this non-traditional things, I wish that could be an option where you could just partner two people that are responsible, that want to come together to have a child and just co-parent. Because we're making a lot of other things non-traditional. That would be something. It would have its downfalls too, because you might have two people that say they're going to parent like this, totally different. But I think it would be more successful.
Well, I think we found our new business venture. Let's talk offline.
Come to the clinic, get your partner.
Okay.
But yeah, it sounds like a great idea, honestly, to me.
But back to Kim's statement of what are the benefits for like after 18, I think that could actually be the best time, because if, say, they gave you up for financial reasons, or like they were not going to provide you a good life, and they did the right thing, like they put you up for adoption. You had a great life. You're 21. Now you're really curious. Like, you could still have that connection and that bond even in your adult life.
Yeah, but wouldn't it would feel horrible. You would feel horrible. I would feel horrible if I didn't grow up in poverty or anything like that. So I'm not going to use that. But I'm saying you gave me up for financial reasons, and then I meet you later in my life, and you are living the life. I'd be like, really, bitch? That'd be the first thing on my mind. But that's just me.
But I mean, like, if they loved you, they let you go type thing. Like, they knew you were in a good home. That disruption would be a lot harder at 14 than it would at 24. Like, especially if you love your adopted parents too, now you're stuck. I don't know. I feel like your adult brain would process it better than your youthful brain would.
And that's on the adoption side, right? So let's jump over to the donor side.
The donor side. Yeah, I don't know that I don't think there's a benefit in that on the donor side. I think it's more so just a safeguard, or like just to give the child or the child an opportunity to make that decision for themselves versus putting them in harm's way, I guess, so to speak, anytime before then. But I don't know. It's interesting just making that choice, I guess, to be a single parent. I know, like you said, the world is transitioning and changing, but I think that's still probably a hard pill to swallow, because you don't know how your child is going to react to that after, the thing happens, after they become 18 and all of this. So they could be mad at you, like, Mom, why did you decide to get a donor? And I'm just here. I didn't have a father for 18 years. So now it's this whole tension. So like you said, you don't know what may happen. So it's tough to make that call.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I think
we're not being disrespectful, Brian and Adam. I don't know if you can see the chat going on.
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So he's telling me Pierre is trying to be funny because he always says I grew up in the ghetto. So don't lie. I really did grow up in poverty. That's what he's trying to say.
It'd be my luck. I'll raise a kid and be like, Daddy, so you got more money than Mama, more than $40? How much did they give you at the clinic? 170, baby. I was a little smarter than your mama with the going rate.
So let me ask you this. Would you, any of you ladies, I know that you all have kids, but if you were in that situation where that was your option, would you ever have consider going the donor route?
Shit, I feel like I did. I didn't even know if I could sign up for it. I was fucking married and he was a donor. I didn't even know. Okay. I didn't even have to fucking walk into place. It just happened. It's where we at. Okay. I'm
not a maternal person, so I really didn't want children at all. So I wouldn't have been in that situation. I wouldn't have signed up for that. But then here I am, a volunteer, and so
I'm more maternal than I thought I was. I was shocked too. I still say now I got kids. Who the fuck?
What about you guys? Would you guys ever consider being a donor?
Me?
No.
As long as it legally couldn't come back onto me. Sure.
So you wouldn't want to have anything to do with the child?
I love the honesty.
I don't think so, no. Because then I think I would get attached.
Yeah.
What is the benefits of a donor, Mario?
Yeah. You said it, Adam.
Yeah.
Same with an egg donor. Like, there's money there. You can make good money being an egg donor.
Yeah.
Do you guys know? I know a guy. I actually work with a guy. And he's really cool, but he never ever wanted to be a parent. And he said it off top. He never wanted to be a parent. So happens, he ended up getting somebody pregnant, and from jump signed his rights over. But he pays good every month. He still pays, but he don't want to be a part of nothing. And he still he does not want to be, but he makes damn good money. He does not want to be a part of anything.
Well,
but he's still literally, I kid you not, because I didn't believe it either. I was like, yeah, right. He was like, no, think the little girl is 12, and he showed me he pays every time he shoots, and it's not even like she took him downtown or anything. He took himself, do that. I don't want nothing. I'm paying you. Whatever, I'm paying you. And
But it seems to me like he got the raw end of the deal. I mean, he never wanted kids, slipped up, had a little situation, and now he's paying. I mean, good stand-up guy. Yeah, good job.
Why did he get the short end of the situation?
Right. Yeah.
Because he didn't. In my mind, he didn't.
But he's doing an like the stand-up thing. So
he's being responsible.
But he was. Because he was the one who had sex without protection, apparently. So I mean,
both of them, and he said he was both of them. And she was like, "Okay," and then it happened. And
I'm merely saying he got the short end of the stick only because he is giving up the money every month, yet is not having a relationship with the child.
But that's because he doesn't want to. Like this was all his choice. Right. Like he was even like, she never threatened me or anything because she wanted kids. I didn't. But we had agreed that apparently the girl was on birth control. I don't know. But he was just like, I didn't, but I wasn't gonna leave her hanging either because I saw my mom struggle. So maybe that's why he didn't want.
She was on birth control?
That's what he said. She said, I don't know, whatever.
Is that what she said? That's what she said. See, she trapped him. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. He got the short end of the stick.
Cut his mic off.
But do you know? Now hold on.
Birth control. You are confident in birth control? Cut his mic off, please. Jesus Christ.
Because with birth control, I got twins. Okay. So.
Oh well.
Yeah. So I don't mean. Yeah, but yeah, he just does it. He's always mom struggles. Like he didn't want her to struggle, but he don't want no parts of it. And I was like, oh, I mean, you almost like you can't. To me, I feel like you can't really get upset with that. I guess, like, damn, he's still okay because he don't even have to do that. It's just like I signed it over. I guess I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, she didn't take him to court.
No, I'm looking at Mario's face, honey, with them lips turned up, like.
Right.
Yeah, right.
The lady trapped him because what did you say? You said he's a good man. He's a stand-up guy.
I didn't say he was good man. I mean, I'm saying the good as far as still.
She trapped him. She saw that in him.
You don't know the backstory of anything. You just making this presumption.
So when that inside muscle started pulsating, that thing started squirting, he was like, "I'm trapped. I'm trapped."
Yeah. She wrapped her legs around him so he couldn't get away.
See, I didn't go the money route with it. I went more the like. Kids hold you so accountable as a parent. Like maybe he didn't want or to even have to build that emotional connection. Like your kid looks at you like a superhero. And maybe he didn't want to feel the weight of that. That's where I went with it. Okay. But I mean, if he's trapped, he's trapped. I can go that route too.
Let's add a twist and say that a gay man and a woman got together on a drunken night. Would it be acceptable for the man to say, I absolutely don't want this. This was a mistake. I'll pay, but I don't want it. Would that be more? Would you accept that more with that situation, Mario? No. Anybody can answer.
Right. Moving along because he would not.
Why? Yeah, it's Pride Month. I mean, let's put a twist on it.
No. I'm
put a twist on it to make it.
Mario. I feel like we know Mario's statement, but
it was for everybody, not just for Mario.
It wouldn't like. Not for me. It wouldn't change that because it would still be the same scenario. Like, because that doesn't mean just because a gay man has sex with a straight woman doesn't mean that he doesn't want kids. True. So that could still be a reality for him. But I mean, the same thing. Even if that man didn't want kids and he made that decision to pay his child support or pay, give money for the child, that's commendable. I mean, because everybody's not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good discussion, great question. I don't know, Stovall, if that would change my perspective on it, because then in that case, I would say she knew he was gay, so why would she, but I'm always going to have a rebuttal. Anyway, so we'll move on. That's how you keep it spicy, Hayward. You got to, keep them guessing. All right, so Adam and Brian. If you don't mind, if it's comfortable for you, would you mind sharing your coming out story with us, please?
Go ahead, Brian.
Okay. My coming out story. I actually just recently told this story not too long ago, although I left out a lot of details. I'm pretty far removed from actually coming out. I came out when I was 16. So a lot of details from prior to that I kind of gloss over, but my earliest memory of anything having to do with my parents and sexuality was hearing my father say when I was 5 years old that if he ever had a gay kid, he would disown them. So when I was in my mid-teens, probably 14, 15, and very much aware that I was gay, I had told a few people. The very first person that I ever told, I still don't remember actually doing it. It was that scary to me. I was sitting there, I was crying after the fact, and I was like, did I actually say that? And she confirmed that I had. When I came out to my parents, prior to that, I had actually made plans for where I would go if, in fact, my father was serious. Kind of the backstory of what happened was I was 16, coming up on my 17th birthday. I was out applying for jobs and I got into a car accident. And because I was young, I was not at fault for this accident, but the other person was in their 40s and the police automatically believed him, even though he ran a red light. I got home. My father was screaming at me. And very long story short, he came around and said something to the effect of, your life isn't half as bad as you think it is. And I said, I don't think you have any idea what my life is actually like. And he said, why don't you tell me? And I came out at that time. The last words that he said to me for about a year after that was, did I make you that way? That was the one thing that he was worried about. And I said, no, you didn't. And like I said, he didn't speak to me for another year. My mom cried a lot. She called every family member that she could think of and told them as well. But that kind of faded pretty quickly for her, and everything was fine. My father needed to be reminded about a year later. I had to remind him again of like, hey, this is what I am. And from that point on, it was never really an issue. I think coming out for my father was it kind of improved our relationship. We were never particularly close. My father was a farmer. His father before him was a farmer. And when he was young, all he ever wanted to be was like his father. When it became very clear that I was not the type of person that wanted to be exactly like him, I think that kind of drove a wedge between us. And when I came out, in his mind, that was the moment it clicked and said, oh, that's why you don't want to be like me. Which they're going to be gay farmers, but that lifestyle is not for me. And like I said, kind of improved after that. So that's my coming out story.
Wow. Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing, Brian. I have a question for you. Did you ever, in today's world, I mean, in the now, did you ever go back to your father and say, hey, I just want to tell you something. That accident was not my fault?
No, it didn't matter after that.
Mm-hmm.
But you and your dad you guys are good now? Like it's, or bad?
He passed away in 2019.
Oh, I'm sorry. But before he passed,
okay.
like you guys were pretty.
We were never particularly close, but I will say we had a distant understanding. Okay. Let's put it that way. Yeah. The last time I saw him, which was probably a couple of months before he passed, he made it a point to. He was never particularly emotional, but he made it a point to. I think he knew that the end was approaching, and he made it a point to tell me that he loved me. My partner Marcus, he told me to tell Marcus the same. So, yeah.
Wow.
We'll have to do an episode on. I just wish that our parent generation, I just wish that they could open their minds up. I wish that they could join podcasts. I wish we could invite them on and just say, the reason that I asked you, did you follow up about that car accident, which probably seems silly, but it's important to me. It's a trigger for me. It's just because my mother often, still talks to me or still makes it seem like I make decisions at the mindset that she thinks that I've been at in my life. And just because you're not in the know of my life, you don't know how I'm thinking. You don't know how I've matured, and things that you just are conditioned to believe back then, in the households in the family that I grew up in. It's just the one adult always thinks that the other adult is right, which is why I believe how child molesters have been able to slide through the cracks, because it's just like the child is wrong, the adult is right. So that's why I asked you, did you ever double back to say, you know what, that just now that I'm an adult, I want to let you know, like, I don't have anything to lose or lie about. So that's why I asked. But I wish we could bring that generation in as special guests, and kind of like I was talking about earlier, that older grandparent generation, educate them. They're stubborn, they're set in their ways, but I think just like all of us, I really truly believe that when they're alone and we're there with their thoughts, at least it will run past their mind. Might not change anything, but at least you know.
Think about it.
Yeah.
So that's just my thought. So it's just a trigger for me, Brian. So sorry.
No worries.
The Stallion.
Here we go. For the record, I attempted to do this in Aruba and I didn't get through it, but I think we're going to be okay. But, so it was my sophomore year of college. I had dated a girl in high school for 2 years. And like, if I was a straight man, that probably would have worked out. Like, we really were like best friends and everything. So that, at the end of the day, made it more confusing for my family, but I'm grateful that she was in my life at that time and that she was that person for me. So I get to Ball State. I had known I was gay since like puberty starts, but I was raised in a very small town in a very strict Catholic household. So we were not bringing that to the light. So as I like was discovering it, I very comfortably lived in the closet. A lot of people ask me like, oh, do you wish you would have came out in high school? Like, I'm glad I stayed where I was at for like protection, survival purposes. Like, my family didn't know how to protect me. I didn't know how to protect myself. I knew this about myself, but I was okay, like sitting back and doing it the way I did it. So then freshman year of college, like I'm just like kind of looking around. I'm exposed to a lot of new things. Sophomore year of college, I met someone, and that's kind of where everything changed. So I broke up with the girlfriend. Like 2 weeks later, was like behind the scenes with this guy who was actually my volleyball teammate. So we saw each other a lot. And then that kind of like encouraged me to want to come out. So I had a high school classmate who was in a college course with me. And like one day, like I had just been like doing my thing with this guy for like a month now. So I was like, I'm just like boiling inside. Like, I'm so pent up. I got to tell somebody. So I ended up telling him after a class. And when I first started coming out, I didn't even like say I was gay because I couldn't. Like, I was just like, I don't know if I'm straight. And then it went from there. So that went really well. And I told him, and I was living with my high school friends at the time. So then I told him, it went really well. I went home that night. I told one of my roommates who was like my high school best friend. That went pretty well. So that was the first time I ever told anybody. The next day, I was like, oh, that was a great day. That went great. Next day, I didn't really tell anyone. I was just like riding out that high. The following day, I was really close with a family member. So I was like, oh, I'm going to tell them, like, I think it'll go okay. So I brought that guy home with me, like went and told this person, and it went incredible. Like, we went and got tacos. It was better than I could have imagined. And then I woke up the next day to just like 3 massive paragraphs of like the Bible being thrown at me, like all of like, I just can't accept you like this, like all of the worst statements that come out of the Bible. There they were in writing. I was like, oh shit. Okay, like let's go back. Let's not tell anyone else right now. Like, we're good. So I was gonna go just like stay DL, I guess, for however long. Like, I just wasn't gonna keep coming out. And then the next day, it was in the evening, I got a text from my brother, my older straight country brother. Like, you see the picture. He was just like, are you gay? And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, how do you know that? Like, what is going on? So I started putting together that she told him. So then I was like spiraling because I'm just like, oh my God, like my brother knows. Like, I've known this for 19 years, but like he just found out. That's insane. So I'm like kind of ignoring it. He starts calling me. He called me like 20 times, and I was with that guy, and then he like finally talked me into answering. So I answered the phone, and he's like, "Are you seriously fucking gay?" And then I'm just like frozen in my tracks. I hang up. I'm just like, holy shit, this cannot be happening. Like all of that like closeted anxiety is coming out. And then I get a text from my mom, and it's just 3 question marks. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I have to do this now. Like now I don't want them to find out through other people. Like that story always gets twisted. So I'm down bad at this point. It's like 2 a.m. on a Saturday. So I text her and I just like apologize that she got me as a son, because I was just raised in a very strict Catholic household. Like it just, a lot of it stemmed from that, a lot of like religious trauma, all that. So then I text her and I was like, I will come home tomorrow. We could talk. And we met. My sister had a basketball game, so I went there and we sat in my car and we talked. And like I'm just kind of numb at this point because like there's no going back. And my mom's just like a very like assertive person, so like it was more just like a conversation. It wasn't like very vulnerable. While she was crying, but I know now, like as an adult, like she was just so afraid because she didn't know how to protect me anymore. Like she had no experience with a gay child, with gay culture, gay community, anything. In her whole life, she had been told that it was like so wrong and like one of the biggest sins. So like this just rocked her world, and I was aware of that. So like I just kind of got through it, and I was just like this is who I am. Like there's no going back. Like I have known this, and I'm sorry I kept it from you, but here this is me. So like we ended on a pretty good note. I watched my sister's basketball game with her. Like that was fine. And then I left there and I went to like some of my mentors. It was my old librarian and my old English teacher. And then I went over, I texted them, I was like, hey, can I talk to you both today? Went over there. And then like, as soon as I walked in that door, that's when I like broke down. Like that was like all the vulnerability of it all. So then that went great. Like I felt very heard. I left on a good note. And then I was just sitting there like, when I got home that night, and I was just like, I don't want this person going around like, oh, Adam thinks he's gay now. Like he has a boyfriend and he introduced me. I don't know what's going on. Like this isn't how we were raised. So to get ahead of all of that, I came out on Twitter and like had like a big paragraph, and it was received really well. And I got a bunch of love after that. And then after that, after my mom knew, like, honestly, now as an adult, I look back and I'm kind of grateful. Not that grateful that I was outed, but it really just ripped off the Band-Aid. So from the first time I ever said the words to like telling the world, it was like a 5-day window. And I just, after that, I was free and I was good to go. Then a couple months later, everything kind of mellowed out. And then like my family came around a lot and it went a lot better than I anticipated. And then after a month after I came out, my older brother got his girlfriend, now wife, pregnant. So, and that was a big no-no too in the church. So when I went home after that, I was just like the doors I opened for you. Are you kidding? like after everything I had to go through, like you're fine now. But we're good.
Adam,
now.
how would you want your mother? What did you want your mother to say?
I didn't get the like, oh, I know, sweetheart. Like, I feel like a lot of guys get that. A lot of gay guys get that. Or like they get what I got, which was just like the denial of it all. But I was like after we got comfortable, I was like, Mom, like we watched Dance Moms together every Tuesday for 4 years. Like my brothers weren't doing that. Like we were in there kikiing, talking about like all the drama from that show. Like I didn't really I was closeted, but I didn't hide who I was. Like it was like, because everyone at school, like all of my peers were like, oh yeah, we know. And then even like, I remember when I was in the 6th grade, I came home and my brother, he came home and he was like, all of my friends think you're gay. And I was 12. So like, it wasn't like some big secret. So I think I just wish she would have like lived more like in that moment with me than rather in fear of like, how do I protect you? But she's a mother. Like that is where their brain goes. I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Hayward? What would you want it from your mom?
And I think my situation was different. So I don't think she and I, honestly, we've never had like a full conversation. Like, she knows that I'm gay, but we have not had like an in-depth conversation about like me growing up and like all of that. So I feel like we could have that conversation now. We just haven't. So yeah, just slightly different. Oh, but what would I want her to say?
Yeah, like just when you guys are thinking about this and saying I have to come out, what do you guys want? Because I don't think that that's ever talked about. Like, what do you want when you lay there with your thoughts? What was it that you would have wanted? How would you would have wanted the person to respond, father or mother, whatever the situation?
I think at the end of the day, like for me, I just wanted support and like to know that I was supported and loved and cared for, and there's nothing that's going to go against who I am as a person. That doesn't change everything about me. Like, this one thing doesn't change who I am. Because I think that was my biggest fear, just in telling someone that I'm gay. Like, everything that they know about me automatically is erased, and now that's what I'm seen. I'm seen as a gay man, and that's it. It's like, you're gay first, and then everything else falls behind that. So that was always my greatest fear.
So does that look like, just for anybody, does that look like you say it and then the person looks at you and it's like, I love you anyway? You say it, does it look like they make a joke to make it okay? Like, what we talk about the hard part, but we don't ever talk about the receiver. What would you want from us?
I can jump in real quick. Because knowing that I think I shared this before, how terrified I was that, my daddy, my friends kind of had forced me to have this conversation with my daddy and stuff like that. And at the time, that was, I was always apprehensive about my father knowing. And so he actually, to answer your question, what were my thoughts, when I laid with my thoughts and how he would respond, he actually responded just as I would have wanted him to. However, I didn't expect him to.
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
Because, we had a conversation. Like I said before, he, instead of saying anything else, he apologized to me for me having to hold that in for so long and not being able to tell him. And we end up, getting, crying and stuff like that. And my dad, he acted like he's real hard, but he's really a softie. And so, and then from there on out, it was like, it never came back up to a point that we had to rehash it. We had about a 2-hour conversation as a result, but, and then it was like, I was with P at the time. So then, and that's one of the things that was important to me. I think I told you this, Stovall. I wanted to make sure I was in a stable relationship before I had to tell my father, because I don't want him to think I'm just out here, doing whatever. So
being the man of the night.
We are having a real deep conversation now, so I'm not going.
I'm sorry.
I was man of the day and the night, but no, I wanted, I wanted him to see
under great tutelage.
Wait, was it not like that before P?
Stable relationship?
Or like, were you a true man of the night? I didn't know you at that time, so
yeah.
The viewers didn't know you at that time.
I know. I was finding myself.
That's what they're calling it now.
Yeah, finding myself, finding out what I liked and didn't like.
Practice makes perfect.
How could you do that outside of trial and error?
Trial and error. I had several trials and several errors. But I really wanted my father to see like a stability and everything like that. So then when we had that conversation, then, he put 2 and 2 together. Oh, the dude that drive that Cadillac, that's your, I was like, yes, Daddy, that's, that's my boyfriend and everything like that. And so, and he, from day one, he embraced P, and it's been on since then.
Brian,
okay,
what about you and your mother?
The guy that drives the Cadillac. I see the little light flecks in it. And
Yeah.
Not a Cadillac. Okay.
Yeah.
I know your story with Brian for your dad would be different, but what would you have wanted your mother to do or say to you in that moment? Or what did you think, or like when you were playing that through your head, what was your thoughts that you wanted her to say?
See, I don't know that I put too much thought into what I wanted her to say. I was much more concerned about what she was going to say. When my father was still alive, she was a pretty submissive wife in terms of kind of falling in line with him. And I, in hindsight, I don't think, even if he had said, get out of the house, she wouldn't have let that happen. But my perception at the time was that she might, which is why I had a backup plan, which kind of like with Adam was people at school, teachers that I had talked to about it, about like what would I do if this ends up happening. And in terms of what I wanted, in hindsight, going back and thinking of what a parent could say, pretty much anything that says that's okay. It doesn't have to be, I love you, let's go to the pride parade together. It doesn't have to be anything like that. Just that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Not to, I just want to go back. So, Brian, you still lived in the house, and you and your father didn't talk for a year? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Man. Wow.
Pretty standoffish. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
It's pretty standoffish, but it was definitely, like we both knew why he was not speaking to me. And then there was this one random time I was sick and I'd stayed home from school, and I remember it was some stupid daytime talk show like a Ricky Lake or something, and there was something that happened, and he had said to me, "One day you'll find out that's exactly how women act," and I was like, "Yeah, I don't know that that's going to be the case." That, and I think basically telling him a second time was what triggered him, and then everything was normal for us, at least. So, yeah.
All right. So my next question will be: do you feel like pride is having a positive impact?
Yes.
How so?
In the sense of like building community and like just like the empowerment you feel at a Pride festival, like seeing like the two guys holding hands, two girls holding hands, like anything and everything is okay. I would say yes. Like it is that place of example almost that you didn't get as a child for most of us.
Not alone, probably.
Okay. What about you, Brian?
Oh, yes. I think Pride has reached kind of a point where the answer is more likely that it's complicated. I think there's a lot of people, more and more, especially as people my age and older get older, that don't identify with Pride. They don't think that Pride represents them. They don't feel like they are welcome. Not necessarily in a bad way, more like it's just not something that resonates with them on a personal level. We see that with things like Pride flag. It used to be just straight rainbow colors. Then we added, black and brown to it, and then all the bi and trans colors to it. But even then, people still aren't happy with that, and I understand that they don't feel that it's representative to them, and I think that's a struggle that Pride probably needs to get over. But then the other aspect of that is, I think Pride, in its effort to be accommodating to as many people as possible, is kind of diluting the experience for everybody.
What conversation did me and you just have, Mario, about the last episode? That's so funny that, Brian, I just shared with Mario.
Go ahead, Mario. Go ahead.
I was just sharing with Mario after I watched the last episode that it's funny how when you highlight something, it kind of becomes a negative. Working where I work, it's a big thing, right? I've never seen it so mainstream. And I want to say, I hope I'm not overstepping by saying this, but I live in the community my friends here, majority of the people that I hang around, and it's just like those people outside of Adam and Neek are just not excited about it. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it makes me wonder, because I ask Mario all the time, like, why don't you do the flag? Why don't you represent and go hard for that? And it's just not him. It's just majority of the people that I'm around that are in the community. They're not pride, the rainbow color driven. So I'm very shocked that you said that, but that's what I get more off of watching the last episode. It was just like no one had anything like overwhelming to say about Pride Month, and I think it's just it's because it comes with so many other facets to it that it's just like people are dealing with other things that highlighting just pride, it is not the thing. Like, I know it brings Adam, not to discard what you were saying, like the communities and bringing unity and all of that, but people that are actually living in it, and the example that I gave, people, Black people that like research Black history and culture, they really don't care for Black History Month. And that's what I was telling Mario. It's kind of the same. They really don't care for it because this is like, this is every day for us. This is everyday survival for us. This is an everyday educational lesson for us. And so just to highlight 28 days, they're like, go on with that. And I see it with pride with some people, or a majority of the people. So interesting.
Let the record show too. I love a good party. And pride is a party.
And I was going to say, pride is something that I take very seriously. Like, it means a lot to me. Kind of like Adam, growing up in a very small town where that was definitely not a thing. I was in my high school. I was the only person that was out. I was the only person that had ever come out. So being able to attend Pride, being able to go have gay bars that are available to you, things of that nature, those were things that I deemed important as part of finding a community that accepted me. So I love Pride. So I don't want my answer to suggest that I do not, but I know that for a lot of people, it is not as meaningful to them as it is to me.
Yeah, I think for me, one thing that makes that, I guess, that I'm not as excited about Pride is the fact that it's become so mainstream. That's a good thing, but then also a bad thing, because now I feel like so many companies are monopolizing off of it, and I don't necessarily really feel like they really support it. They just are doing it for money-making opportunities, and so that kind of, to me, it makes it watered down a little bit.
And to make it into those metric magazines, like the Fortune 500 companies, the best place to work, the most diverse inclusion place, to make those metrics too. So
yeah.
So
all right,
I have a question. I'm sorry, just to I'm gonna go back just a little bit. So when it comes, I just wonder, and this is just my take on it, that sometimes I wonder if parents, more specifically moms, kind of do know, but maybe they have on their rose-colored glasses, like, because it's like, if my child, they're here with me, they live with me, so I have to see something, but maybe I see it, but I kind of just don't want to believe it, so I'm gonna turn my, and not saying that's a bad thing. I just basically with my family, my little cousin, and that's my baby. Like, that's been my baby, forever. So when he finally, a couple years ago, came and sat me and my mom down after he told my aunt, after he came out to my aunt, my mom and I, like, if you just have to meet her. And we were looking at him like, okay, so you really came to sit us down and tell us this? Like, we was waiting on you. Like, I don't understand what's going on. We all laughed about it. It was just a good thing. But then when my aunt, a couple of days later, she came and was like, yeah, he told us, and I just couldn't believe it. And we're kind of sitting here like, you don't want to believe it, or you didn't try to believe it, or what?
I have a question about that, Ronnie. So do people think, when they say, like, a mother may say, we already knew, or the family saying they already knew, is that their way of trying to comfort the person, to make them feel more comfortable, to say, did they really know?
I really knew. My mom really knew. Like, I think it was Adam. Was it you that said you and your mom used to watch the show?
Yeah.
Is that you? Okay, so me and him. I mean, granted, he wouldn't even care if I said his name. He would probably love to even be on here tonight with us. But it was like, maybe when it comes to Dreamgirls, he will fight you over Beyonce. Okay, like Dreamgirls was our, it's just, even since he was little, like that was just my baby. Like, we were, so it wasn't a shock to everybody else at all. But it wasn't we were waiting on you, or we already knew it wasn't like that but also, yes, to make him feel comfortable in a way, but like, okay, we knew this and we don't care. So what? You you still are who you are. So it doesn't matter to us. But I'm just thinking I guess I'm looking at it as an outsider who could automatically pick up and know it. It's like, you're under the same roof. So you didn't see it like at all. So to me, that's kind of, I don't know. I guess I'm just, and I understand, being a parent, you don't know, and you want the best, and you want to protect them on all aspects for everything. So I get that, but it's like, to me, I'm wondering if there just had to be some kind of, I don't know, just something that you did know, but maybe you didn't want to see it, if that makes sense. You understand what I'm saying?
What if you guys as parents asked you when you were younger, how would you have felt?
Mine did.
Oh, your mom did?
Yeah. It was probably in the 14, 15 age range that she asked more than once. And she brought this up a few years after I actually came out, and was basically like, why didn't you tell me then? And I was basically had to say, I had to be ready for it. I had to be able to put a word to it. I had to be able to, eventually she had questions, and I had to be able to answer those. I had to be comfortable enough to answer those. So she definitely did have her suspicions, and she had asked. I had lied at the time just because I wasn't ready.
Mario, what if Dad would have came to you and asked?
Well, here's the thing. So just a little story.
I love Mario stories.
I think I was probably 11 or 12, and my best friend at the time, we would hunch, and he was a male, and like not clothes burning.
Can you explain hunching for those who may not know?
I'm about to go into detail. So it wasn't like clothes burning. We were actually like,
I know what hunching is, but I mean for our viewing audience.
For us, we were imitating sex, we didn't, it wasn't no like oral or anything like that, but just rubbing our penises together, and stuff like that. My mom walked in. And
can I make a joke?
And this, I'm telling you my market story.
Table your joke.
Start hesitating to tell a joke.
Yeah. Because honey, I learned new lingo.
Go ahead and tell the story. Go ahead and tell you.
So that's called hunching.
I was going to say fronting. Ain't that what they call it?
I was gonna say daughter log off, but per my browser history, I think it's called fronting.
I'm sorry. Okay, sorry.
See? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, me and this motherfucker, we are truly kin.
I don't know how we ain't sisters, but go ahead, sorry.
But best friend, I made a joke when you came out. So, I mean, not a joke, but like, so it's just in it. Sorry. Go ahead.
But so my mom walked in and immediately, pull your clothes on, stuff like that. And so then my mom and dad went to have a conversation with his mom and dad. And honestly, nothing ever came from that situation. It was like we never spoke about it again until I got older. So to answer your question, if that was a time for them to bring the conversation up, that would have been the time, and I would have been not comfortable talking about it then.
That's fair. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. So another question for you guys. What would you change about how the LGBTQIA+ community is viewed or treated? Anybody can jump in.
I had to Google this long acronym because it looks like some more was added. And I want you to be updated. The LGBTQIA2S+. I'm just saying.
Oh.
Okay, I'll jump in while you guys get your thoughts together. I think one of the things that I would change about, and I think I may have mentioned this prior to, is that to not treat gay men as an accessory. You know, like for the lingo, for the fashion, for all those things. Don't treat them like an accessory because, you know, you wouldn't want to be treated that way. But then also to not look at, and I'm speaking from a gay male perspective, so I'm saying that, you know, don't look at a gay man as being a molester. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of times that it becomes it, you know, oh, don't bring them around, you know, the kids or not like that. And not so much because of the fact of you feel like that's going to rub off on your child. I don't, you know, they might touch my child or something like that. And that's the furthest thing, you know, from people's mind. But unfortunately, I think they feel like there's something, you know, something's going to happen or something like that. So I would just wish that that perception would be erased.
And, you know, I think that that's so crazy because the ones that think like that say that, again, hate to even get political, but the ones that think like that and say that, you guys are the same Congress senators or whatever that are in bathrooms, you know, getting caught in bathrooms. Yes, that. Or I know I want to say Oklahoma and Utah, those two, I seen a whole like not a trial thing, but they were trying to argue, basically stating that they wanted to lower the age limit of marriage because even if you're 12 or 13 and your parents agree to let you marry somebody in their 30s, 40s, 50s, that's not child molestation. That's exactly what, you know. So but these are the same ones that have problems with drag shows and everything else. So it's like, are we deflecting? Like, what are we doing? Because I love a good drag brunch, baby. I'm saying that right now. Mm-hmm. So, and I've never seen anybody getting touched there. So I don't know, that bothers. I just think it's funny and it's hypocritical, basically. So.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I wish that there's two things actually. I will say, as a community ourselves, I wish we could put on a more united front. You know, we do use LGBTQIA+ to describe ourselves, but oftentimes I feel like lesbian and gay is one subsection of that. Trans are completely separate. Bisexual people are not involved in the community at all. Generalizing, forgive me. I wish we could be a bit more unified in some of our approaches to how we try to address inequalities or negativity that's directed towards the community. But I feel like we're actually getting further apart than we are getting closer together. Anything that I would like changed as far as how the rest of society addresses us, I would like just stop having us be your go-to boogeyman at election time or whatever the case may be. I think politics gets into it when there's so many other things we could be focusing on. That is the last thing that really needs to be, but it is a fan favorite of that group. So,
yeah, Brian, I would agree with you on that. There is a lot of subgroups within the umbrella, and it causes some friction amongst people because and then it also causes friction, I guess, when you're looking at I guess like the femme gays, versus what do you call it, straight presenting and stuff like that. And so, to your point, if we were more united, then maybe that would cause the world to see us more as a united group versus being able to pick holes in it, in it as a whole.
Right. It's one big battle instead of many small ones.
Right. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. So what are you guys' thoughts on same-sex marriage?
All for it.
Yeah, definitely for it. It doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
Like, in the sense of like, I support it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's to your point, Brian. It's a hot topic, right? Right now, especially with election time. Project 2025 outlines a whole lot of stuff, and so with that being said, it's we may be all for it and stuff like that, but right now it could possibly be eradicated, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm just kind of want to know where everybody stood on that, because it's a big deal. You know.
Can you update the viewers, because now this is a conversation or a topic that I'm a little confused on. I remember it was legal. Was it taken away? Was it undone, or was it not undone?
It hasn't been undone, but I don't know if you're familiar with Project 2025. It's
please read up on that, viewers, if you haven't. Please, my God,
yeah.
Read that. Yeah. Read it. Yeah. Read it to its entirety. Read it.
So women's rights, you know, are affected. You know, gay marriage is you know, it's a lot of things in there that if it comes to life, it's going to make a different life for a lot of people.
So right now, gay marriage is same-sex marriage is legal for all 50 states.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. No,
I can't remember what was the thing that it was. Something was going on while it was going on in court here. Do you guys remember that? Something was going on where I thought it was undone. So that's why I was trying to get confirmation on or clarification on the current status. I couldn't remember. Okay.
Pretty much trying to do the same thing they did with Roe v. Wade. Basically throwing as many court cases at the wall as they possibly can in the hopes that one of them gets to the Supreme Court and that the Supreme Court will overturn
rule on it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Adam, how do you feel about gay marriage?
I mean, I'm definitely in support of it, but I like where my brain goes is just like the history of marriage as a whole and like what marriage started out as and where like it's at now. I don't know. Marriage doesn't have the best track record to me as far as concept. Like marriage where it started was a 14-year-old girl being traded for some goods to some 30-year-old man. Like, so when they argue that route, that gets confusing to me because I was like, this didn't just start out as all rainbows and sunshine. Like the history of marriage alone is a interesting concept to me.
Yeah.
Mr. Super Producer, can you make that an episode? Marriage.
Because I think that's a big part of it. Like, you know, yes, I understand the religious underpinnings of the origin of marriage, but by and large, today it is a civil institution. And therefore, I just don't get the opposition to it and why they want to change it, other than trying to cling to some meaning that it had in the past that hasn't been relevant in a very long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And these gentlemen are, I mean, they in long-standing relationships, and so I guess, you know, whatever works. So, you know,
don't get it twisted. I want to get married. That's been said out loud in my house many times. Like, I'm definitely pro-marriage, but not in this historical sense of marriage now.
Brian, do you want to get married, or are you kind of fine?
I do. How I've kind of thought about it in the 15 years that Marcus and I have been together is that we were together before marriage was a thing. And we kind of found our foundation before that was a consideration. And therefore, this doesn't really hold much symbolism to me. I hate to say utilitarian thing, I will definitely get married someday. I know that takes a lot of the magic out of it for a lot of people, but honestly, for me, that's primarily what it will be, you know, covering power of attorney, mutual assets, things of that nature. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't marry someone if I didn't have an emotional and romantic attachment to them that justified getting married, but I don't necessarily need the marriage to make it real.
That's a good point. You don't need the marriage to make it real. And also from the perspective of, you know, the power of attorney and things like that, you don't want your partner in certain situations feeling like an outsider. You know, like you guys been together 15 years. So imagine how that would, could play out.
Sure.
In certain situations. So definitely you want to make sure that your partner feels like they didn't, they're just not innocent bystander for 15 years and stuff like that. So
Yeah, definitely attracted to like the unification of marriage, like a love marriage.
I didn't. I value marriage for a while. You know, my mom and dad were married for over 40 years, and so that was my blueprint. And I was thinking, marriage is a beautiful thing. They divorced, and so then my outlook on marriage was like, not so good. And then I also had the thoughts of, religious thoughts of, two men shouldn't be married. They could be together but not married type of situation. So I think I don't know, it was maybe 2019 or so that the idea came to my mind again that it was something that I would want, that I would do. And then, as you all know now, that came to fruition for me. But it wasn't always something that was on my mind or anything like that. And I was kind of against it for a while. But because I guess I was against it when my mom and dad divorced, because I always thought I wanted something like what they had. And not that every day was perfect with them, but the fact that they were able to stick in and ride with each other for 40 some years, I was like, oh, this is it. This is what this is what I want. So when that dissolved, I was like, okay.
Yeah. So you had a different blueprint there. It was not great for me growing up. So I was just like, oh, like marriage is a trap. Like I do not want to get myself in this situation. And there were 6 of us. So like there was no going anywhere. You had to stick it out no matter what. So I always saw that in a different light until I got older and found my own perspective on it. But that changed in the last couple of years, honestly.
Yeah. We can't wait to see you walk down the aisle. I'm sure
you're gonna be waiting a little bit longer.
Beautiful ball gown and everything like that.
Not that much longer.
I can't wait.
The colors are ready.
Exactly.
What about you, Hayward?
Not that much longer.
What was that?
No, I was saying, what about you, Hayward? How do you feel about it?
Oh, about marriage. I'm open to getting married. Like I'm a supporter of marriage. I didn't have an example of marriage growing up, so it was never anything that I aspired to do specifically. But I like the idea of partnership and just marrying someone that you love and just being together, being with them just through the rough times, the great times, just all of that, just being a support to each other. So I can definitely see that there, but it's not, I'm similar to Brian. Like, I feel like marriage it's become such a, I don't know, just many different things. And it's like taking on many different facets. So I think I'm okay with it whenever it happens. It's not something that I'm like rushing to do specifically, but when it happens, like I feel like it'll naturally happen.
So you don't have your dress picked out or anything like that?
I don't.
Okay. All right. I got it.
Mario.
Well, I mean, I had mine picked out, this and the third. I didn't quite go with that number. I had had in my mind. I went a different route, but nonetheless, but to Brian's point though, Hayward, not necessarily you have to take that marriage route, just as you said, the partnership of it all. If that's what's important between you and your partner, that's what matters. So
I have a question that stems off of marriage, if you don't mind me asking.
What is it?
How does everyone feel about interracial marriage and or just interracial relationships in general, and why?
Oh, baby, I'm an equal opportunity dater, okay?
Because I've heard it across the board, so I'm just curious.
I'm all for it. I'm pretty sure if I get married again, he's absolutely going to be Caucasian or Italian, because I was also probably meant to be a mob wife in one of my former lives. So I don't know. Either way, it's going to go either way.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have an issue with interracial dating or marriage. I don't know that it would be for me specifically, but not for any specific reason. I've never dated a person like outside of my race. I don't think I'm not open. But again, like I said, I support it, but I don't know that I would do it per se. Maybe if I were in a different situation and I was attracted to someone or met someone of a different race and it became a different thing, then maybe. But it's just, again, like not I don't know that I see myself doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my stance on interracial dating and marriage right now is truly impacted by our political climate. I see a lot of, because of what I see going on, it makes me feel like, you know, what's going to happen in these situations, like what will happen. And I hate to say also, what do you call it, ignorant, but to say like when these, for lack of a better word, we end up in like some type of race war, what side would you choose type of thing? You know what I'm saying? And what is that going to do to your relationship if we, you know, in situations where we have a race war? So how are you going to, you know, how's that going to play out? And I think that's what goes through my mind as it relates to interracial dating, interracial marriage. Now, like I said, because of the political climate, I'm like, how is this going to play out?
Yeah. And like what I said earlier, like about like having like a non-binary friend, and like if you're going to bring them into a space, that's on you to like protect them, stand up for them. That's kind of how I view dating interracially too. It's like I have to align myself with like this culture enough and educate myself enough to be able to protect them if anything would ever go down, and vice versa. Like, I don't know. Like I'm very aware that I'm a white man and I walk through the world as a white man, but my brain has like been opened up to way more than that at this point.
Yeah.
I think that's like the weight you carry of dating interracially.
But I think
You guys,
for me is that we're in 2024. Why is that even still a discussion? You know, you love who you love, you like who you like, you date who you date. Why is that even still the discussion? And that's sad to me. It shouldn't matter. Like it shouldn't matter what someone else is doing. That has basically, what does my grandmother say? What I eat doesn't make you poop. You know, kind of like it has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with you. You know, it has. Well, when I say you, like if I'm in a relationship, you putting your beliefs and stuff on me and whoever I'm dating. What does that have to do with you? And vice versa. It has nothing. It just, it makes me sad. That's sad.
Yeah.
Were either you apprehensive, or did you have any kind of nervousness in the interracial dating, or you guys, it was just cool, it was just no problem, no issues?
I was never apprehensive. I was just way more like curious. So just like getting to learn a new culture and just take it all in, how different it was in the beginning. Like I remember in the beginning when Dave and I started dating, I started coming around like the crew and things, like everybody hugged everybody. I was not used to that. Like me and my white friends, we did not hug like that. So I was just like, oh God, okay, here we go. Like, don't forget to hug everybody. At one time, Brian clocked me at a party. He's like, oh, you're just not going to hug me?
And might I say,
I'm still adjusting.
He gives the best hugs. But
yeah. But no, it was more just sitting back and like kind of learning for I'd say the first year. Like I'm always learning, but the first year was a lot of taking it in. Like,
gotcha.
It was new to me for sure.
What about you, Brian? I felt like you were about to say something.
Yeah, I was. Once I got to the point of actually dating, no, there wasn't really any hesitation there. The first job I ever had, when I moved to Indianapolis, I was the only white person there. And that was kind of my learning experience. Like, I know that I am an outsider here and I need to work to understand the people that I'm around. And I attempted to do so in the most respectful and the respectful way possible, with the knowledge of, you know, how do I interact in this situation with these people that that view me as the outsider. So by the time that it got around and met Marcus and others before him, like there was no hesitation there.
Cool. All right, well, thank you guys for sharing. We will move into our hot seat.
Good luck, Brian.
He seems pretty comfortable. We can switch back and forth if you like.
I think we can. I think he was trying to sell us some lame story about him being nervous and everything like that.
Oh God, no, I was nervous.
I can never tell.
Just the camera was on, like I had to get ready.
Listen. So we will go into this segment of the hot seat. All right, who wants to go first with asking these young men a question?
I had a question. I'll go first. This is for both of you guys. Adam, I know you said, listen, this
I'm okay. I'm ready.
This is a simple, well, not simple, but I mean, this is the question that I've actually asked, I think, twice now, because everybody gives a different answer. So, which I love. But after you guys shared your coming out stories, what advice would you give a young lady, young male, young they, them, young whoever that's coming up now, struggling with that? Like, what advice would you give them based off your own experience and what you know now? It's about what happened then and what you know now, I guess I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would probably, I was kind of maybe a trendsetter in this regard. Like I was very active on the early internet when I was, coming of age and coming aware of my sexuality. And what I would encourage pretty much anyone to do is, if you don't have the people in your physical proximity that you're comfortable with building a network with, you need to have somebody before you, if you're not comfortable, if you feel like the people you're going to tell aren't going to be receptive the way you'd like them to be, you need to have some kind of a network in place, whether it's strangers on the internet or whatever the case may be, that can support you once you make that move.
Yeah, I think I'm on a similar note. Like, I think you just have to tap in with yourself and have some self-awareness and like assess your situation. Like, if I would have came out as a sophomore in high school, that would have been a very different experience than coming out as a sophomore in college. And I knew that. So I got like nice and cozy in the closet. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that if that's what you have to do. So I think, yeah, like at the end of the day, am I going to be like, honestly, like, are my needs going to be met after this? And if that answer is no, I don't think you should jump the gun. Which probably isn't the popular answer, but that's just being aware of it all.
There's no right answer. It's just we don't know who viewers are, who's watching, that may need to hear this, Yeah. So just,
Absolutely.
But usually, I feel like you have like at least one person in your life that like they do see you and they saw you before you saw you. So even if you could just tell that one person, hopefully that's enough to carry you through until you're like in a safe space.
Yeah. Cool.
And one thing I was about to add there was that oftentimes, although you can't necessarily base your decision of whether or not to come out on this directly, a thing that I've learned over the years is that most people don't react as bad as you think they will.
That's true. That is true.
Especially people that love you.
That's very true. Yeah.
But what would you do in that situation if like you came out to your mom and she was like supportive of you and everything, but she hits you with the like, let's just not tell anyone for a while?
Mm-hmm. That was me.
Yeah.
Because I told my mom a few years before my dad found out, and her first response was, well, we can't tell you, Daddy. Yeah. And I felt for years, I felt like she held that over my head with him. So then that made our moment that much better when we had our conversation. Because I was like, girl, you shut up, but yeah.
And that was something that I dealt with as well. My mom was, very much, don't tell too many people. Let's keep this under wraps. Other than the fact that, like I said, the day that I told them, she called literally everybody that she could think of and told them. By that point, I had basically come out anyway. But I would say if you need to, part of the preparation of getting to the point of coming out is being comfortable and being in a position where you know how to respond to things like that. Like if somebody says this, what is an appropriate response? And part of that is having a network of some sort that you can rely on.
Cool. Stovall, you have a question?
We can't hear you, baby.
Brian, thank you guys. Describe your alter ego.
Oh, God.
Oh, I really have an alter ego.
Come on, E-Box.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think that I really have one.
Okay. Adam, he's finding a friend. Can you describe your alter ego?
It is Adam the Stallion.
That's one of them, but my alter ego is like definitely a queen. Like it is like anytime I'm like especially when I'm home alone, like I'm like in the kitchen lip syncing, like throwing hips, doing the whole whipping my hair around. Like she lives in there and she'll come out.
I'm definitely
love her.
a T.S. Madison
I love
type
it.
of girl myself.
How are you?
You know that I am. Before T.S. Madison was famous. But that's okay.
That is.
Goodness.
Hayward.
What are you guys' guilty pleasures?
Oh my god. Oh, hang on.
I don't know that it's too guilty in reality, but food. Food is my guilty pleasure.
What is it?
Food.
Oh, that's okay. We could go that route. Oh,
No. Go the route you.
No, yes, right.
Yes. Stick with what you're planning.
What was your original answer?
I
And this is a safe space.
I love to role play like a first introduction, like a being picked up kind of vibe, or like a very that route.
Who are you?
Just like the innocence of it.
I don't know. I feel like me and you should be best friends. If you just knew some shit, Kim knows. So if you just knew some shit out of me, you would be besties.
Oh, that's what you
It's
do,
in there.
Ronnie.
Oh, baby. Do I what? Baby, I invented. Baby, listen to something.
Like
Maybe
the whole like, oh, I've
it.
never seen you in here before.
Bro,
Or there's
maybe
like one night,
I got
like David and I were out at the,
Yes.
we were out at Greg's and he was, like he approached me, like it was like our first night meeting. And like we were just like with the booze and everything. It was so fun. And then like we danced and all that. So I definitely think that's my guilty pleasure, I'd say.
And then when you go home, it's good, ain't it?
Yeah.
After the role play, baby. I know it is. Okay, I'm sorry. It's not about me. I'm done.
Oh, it's okay.
We might have to bring this topic back. So the producer, add it to the list.
My question for both of you guys, I think I asked it last week when Hayward was in the hot seat. But if so, we'll start with Brian. Brian, if you had to choose 3 words to describe yourself, what would they be and why?
Mellow would be one of them. And I think that's pretty self-explanatory. That describes me most of the time. Curious. I have a strong desire to always learn things, to know how things work, to understand the world around me, and more based on facts rather than feelings. And logical. That's the third one. See my previous answer for details on that.
Cool.
Accurate, definitely.
You are a logical man.
I was gonna say a very thoughtful listener, logical. Yeah.
Adam?
My first one, like it's to describe myself, but I've also been called this many times, and I've always loved how I received it. The word colorful. So I just take that as like open to many things, like judgment-free kind of vibe. So that's my number one. Then I would say rebellious, which also kind of taps into like curiosity, because like I'm just a person, like there's nothing I'm not going to try if I want to try it. Like I'll find a way to figure it out type of thing. And then third's going to be a stallion because I'm huge.
Come on, stallion.
Yeah.
For our viewers and listeners, how tall are you?
I'm 6'6", 250.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And you said you got a brother that's. Wait a minute. Let's talk about your brother. You said you got a brother that's.
Both my brothers are 6'5".
Are they? Baby, are they married? That's what I'm talking about.
The older one's married, the younger one's engaged. So.
Are they happy?
This is
Okay, I'm sorry.
this is
No,
not
they are.
matchmaking for
Oh, okay.
Ronnie.
Yeah.
I'm happy for both of them.
There you go, Adam. There you go. You're happy for both of them. One more question I do have, Adam, for you is, and I only ask anybody can answer, but I'm gearing it towards Adam because he and I both watch Drag Race, and so how do you feel about them trying to ban drag in certain states?
It's just like, it feels very like the people doing it are very out of touch with what drag actually is. Like, drag is, to me, is an art form. Like, yes, it's based in like female impersonation, but it is so much more beyond that at this point. So you're just trying to ban an art form, not everything they've painted it out to be is not how I perceive drag and never have.
Anybody else want to touch on that?
Can you share why are they trying to ban it? Can you share what their cons are as to why it's damaging?
I was gonna say, they just say it's like too sexualizing.
Too sexualizing, that's what they're saying. Like, yeah.
Like, kids shouldn't be watching drag type of vibe. But I'm just like, first of all, any kid that's at a drag show is probably brought there by a queer person or a person that is okay with them being there. Like, they knew the risk they were taking. And like, that is kind of the history of drag as far as like female impersonation and like being hot and all of that. Like, I don't know. I think you just got to know what you're getting yourself into.
So
And
exotic
again, all this is coming
dancing is
from political people that are the young girls, so yeah.
So
Yeah.
exotic dancing is okay, but drag
Exactly.
is interesting.
It's your decision as a parent. Like, you don't bring your kids to the strip club, and it's kind of the same thing. And drag's not even, I hate even saying that, because drag is not just that. Like, it's so much more than just hot female impersonation.
I think it's a deflection. They need something, even though we got bigger things in the world to worry about. Then, so I don't know.
Yeah,
they need something.
It's a bunch of people that have never actually been to a drag show.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Well, really, they have, just in the bathrooms and they just don't want nobody to know. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for the great dialogue and great conversation. Anybody have any last thoughts before we get into this uplift?
No, I enjoyed you guys. And
thank you guys for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Yes. Stovall, I feel like you were going to say something.
Yeah, I have a question. I have one more question. Mario and I were talking about this when I was recapping from the last episode. Queer, that word. I don't know how to pose my question, so I'm gonna give an example.
Well, I think what she was saying, if you don't mind me stepping in, is when she asked the question originally, she was saying, as a straight woman or being from the straight community or have you, that queer to them is offensive. And so, but now when we use the word queer, it kind of gives a little sense of confusion. They're feeling like, hey, I don't want to use that word because that's offensive to you, but now they're hearing it more.
Well, it's just like addressing your friends as like part of the queer community and not like being, oh, you're a queer, like, don't do that. But I like the term queer because I feel like it's a really good umbrella term for the entire community. And like, being queer is like being anything that's not straight. Like, you don't have to be gay, you don't have to be trans. Anywhere along that spectrum, queer like welcomes that to me.
Interesting.
Again,
I kind of take the opposite perspective there.
Go ahead, Brian.
I generally would say I don't use the word queer ever. Too many negative connotations from a little before Adam's time that I don't find that a representative term. I find it just a generally, either, if not offensive, I find it confusing. And I think that's the struggle that a lot of people have with the word queer, is that they don't really know how to use it, what it means. And I think there are just other terms that work better.
Yeah.
Is that what questioning stands for in the LGBTQ? I guess I don't know, because some of the, like, when I see questioning in there, I'm like, what does the questioning mean? Does that?
People that aren't entirely sure what their
Okay.
sexual identity
I feel like they're
is
very
currently.
similar.
Okay, and I didn't mean to sound dumb. I just really didn't.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
The reason that I brought it up is because it's just my crusade of education, right? So just a side conversation, and then I'll tie it in. Us as women, we go out and to seek, we feel like in order to draw in a man, we go get what? Our hair done, we get our lashes, we get our private areas waxed. Come to find out, men don't like that, but we do that to draw them in. So you have women thinking men like this, we have to do this to draw you in. Men are like, we don't even like this. So then to tie it to the word queer, I think it's like people are uneducated because and we have to relearn things, right? Our mind back then, when dealing with the gay community, queer was said in a negative way on movies or in conversation. But now you have the gay community using it like, no, this is okay. But you have the straight community like, wait a minute, I thought that was a bad. So again, not being educated, it causes conflict. So that's why I wanted to bring it up and ask, not necessarily for you guys, just to put it out in the universe, like just educate yourself, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask. Definitely have a respectable delivery, but just asks. Like, I want to ask a lot of questions because I want to seek to learn, and I want to make sure that those around me, I make sure that I make them feel comfortable and that I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sure. And I think there's some, like, especially with the word queer, some people use it. Not everyone's using it the same way. I've known people that would call themselves gay and queer, which means they're a man that's interested in men, but then queer is an additional component on top of that. Whereas with Adam said, it basically encompasses anything under the umbrella. So it's not something that people use consistently, and that's why I think there's some confusion behind it. I don't find it offensive when our community uses it. I just don't find it to be an effective tool for communication personally.
I think it's kind of like just a generational thing too, like where it used to be more based on like the gay community, and now I feel like for the younger generations it's more like it's the queer community, and then being gay is a part of that. And I think that just came along with more exposure and exception of being gay or being queer.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. Cool, yeah. So I think, Adam, I share the same view. I think when Stovall and I were talking about it, that the term queer is all encompassing. So it's a way to not leave anybody out. But your perspective as well, Brian, makes a lot of sense as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll move into the uplift. So today I actually have two uplifts. The first being stop being afraid of what could go wrong and start being excited about what could go right. That's my first uplift. And then my second one, which is something that resonated or kind of spoke to me. I saw it on IG a couple days ago. If you spend your time chasing butterflies, they'll fly away. But if you spend your time making a beautiful garden, the butterflies will come. Don't chase, attract.
Say that one again.
If you spend your time chasing butterflies, they'll fly away. But if you spend your time making a beautiful garden, the butterflies will come. Don't chase, attract.
I like.
I very much align with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So take that with you during your week this week. Don't chase, attract. Keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Thank you for another.
What if I want to be? Never mind.
What if you want to do what?
What if I want to be the one being chased
Oh, well, it sounds like you know, that's a different type of chasing, and so I think that's okay.
Oh, okay, everybody, right. So.
All right. Thank you guys. Thank you, Adam, B Stallion, and DJ Evox for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. Great dialogue, great perspective. I really appreciated the conversation.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
Yeah, see, you acting all nervous, and look at you. You can't stop from talking.
Let me just say, it was an honor to be one of the 2 first Caucasians on Off Topic. Let me just say. So proud to wear this title.
Trendsetters.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys again. Have a great week.
Thank you. You guys see you later.
Thank you.